Back to Based MMA. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. This is going to be a breakdown and prediction. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you're new, please hit that like button. Help me reach 10,000 subscribers by May. Let's make this happen, Based MMA community. Let's make this happen, guys. So let's get started with Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. I mean, this fight, I don't have to say it, but I'm going to say it again. I mean, it's an amazing matchup stylistically. It should be an incredibly entertaining and highly technical match. I mean, Alexander Volkanovski's fight IQ, his composure, his technical ability when it comes to the striking, the grappling is just something to watch. Ilia Topuria, obviously the hot prospect right now, all the confidence in the world, very slick boxing, incredible striking as well, a lot of composure. Both these guys are super confident, but the narrative going into this fight has been Ilia Topuria has been running his mouth for the last couple of months. I mean, this guy has been saying from the beginning that he's going to knock out Volkanovski, that he's going to make Volkanovski look easy. It's going to be one of his easiest fights. So, he's extremely confident. And although many MMA fans are upset and sensitive over what Topuria has been saying in his last couple of interviews, I believe Topuria is great for the sport and is exactly the kind of star that the UFC needs right now because, look, guys, I get it. It's mixed martial arts. There should be respect. But I'm tired of the same old NPC trash talking of, oh, we'll see on Saturday night. It's going to be a war. That gets a bit repetitive and it gets boring. And now that Topuria is talking a lot of smack, and the kind of trash talk that Topuria is talking is not personal trash talk. It's all about competition. Like, he's not pulling a Colby Covington. He's not talking about Ilia Topuria's parents or his dad or whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? It's not personal when it comes to Topuria. He's just saying, hey man, I believe my skills are the best in the world. I believe I'm going to make you look easy. And if you guys actually stop to think about it, the fact that Ilia Topuria is coming out and saying these kind of things puts a lot more pressure for him to perform next Saturday. And it's actually, I think it makes the fight more intriguing. I think what Topuria is doing is absolutely amazing and is exactly what we need right now. And like I said, the guy's putting more pressure on his shoulders. So it just kind of tells you the kind of confidence he's going into this fight. And I understand from the MMA fans, I understand that, yes, if he loses to Alexander Volkanovski, it's going to look pretty bad. I mean, the guy is still 27 years old, so it's not like, oh my God, it's the end of the world for Topuria. I mean, it's just going to be a bad look, and he's going to be a meme for quite a while in the MMA community. But I mean, it also depends how he loses to Volk, right? Because if it's a competitive war, an amazing fight, back and forth, and Volkanovski ends up winning a decision, I don't think Topuria is going to lose a lot of stock. But if Volkanovski is able to quickly dismantle him or just dominate him from round 1 to round 5, then I think it's going to be pretty embarrassing for Topuria. But like I said, I think the fact that he's going into this fight with so much confidence really elevates the fight, makes it a lot more exciting. And he's also, like I said, putting a lot more pressure on his shoulders to perform. Now, for Volkanovski, look, guys, he's one of my favorite fighters. He's absolutely one of my favorite fighters. I picked him to win the rematch against Islam Makhachev because I'm absolutely delusional and I'm a hardcore fan of Volkanovski. That I was that delusional because I thought, you know what, Volkanovski has been training all this time. He's been thinking about Islam Makhachev since that first fight. He knows the adjustments he needs to make, and he wouldn't take this fight if he's not ready. And I turned out to be wrong. And like I said, that knockout could have still happened even if he had a full training camp because it was very early in the fight. It's not like Volkanovski got knocked out against Islam, in round 3, round 4. It happened very early in the fight. I believe it was like 2 minutes in, and Islam Makhachev was setting him up. He was throwing low kicks, and then he came up with a head kick. I think the first head kick that Islam Makhachev threw, it even landed on Volkanovski, but it wasn't really able to hurt him. Volkanovski did look flabby in that fight. He didn't look great, but point is, guys, I love this guy, man. His will to win, his humility, the fact that he wears his heart on his sleeve. He comes out and says what he's feeling and all these things. And he's a great role model. That's what I love about Volkanovski, his fight IQ, his fighting ability. Like, when you watch this guy fight, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. He's one of the best fighters to ever come into the UFC. I mean, his 145 reign has been absolutely remarkable. I mean, beating Holloway 3 times. Like, who beats Holloway 3 times? And then who beats Holloway the way Volkanovski did in that trilogy, where he just destroyed Max Holloway. Like, it was sad to watch. It was very, very sad to watch. And man, he's been tearing through everyone. Beat Brian Ortega, beat the Korean Zombie, dismantled Yair Rodriguez last summer. So Volkanovski has been absolutely dominant when it comes to 145 pounds. The only time we've seen a little bit more of his weaknesses has been when he's moved up to fight Islam Makhachev. But we're quickly learning that Islam Makhachev is one of the best fighters to ever fight at 155 pounds, and maybe one of the best fighters ever. I mean, we'll see how his career turns out. So there's nothing embarrassing about losing to Islam Makhachev. Now, the fact that Volkanovski is coming off a bad knockout loss to Islam has made this fight a lot more competitive in the eyes of the fans and a lot trickier to break down. I can't lie, guys. It's a lot trickier to break down, but let's get started. So let's get started with Ilia Topuria. I mean, Ilia Topuria has a lot of strengths, guys. A lot of strengths. Obviously fights from the orthodox stance, heavy boxing stance, has a slick left and right hook. You know, everybody's going to be talking about how Ilia Topuria's boxing stance very susceptible to leg kicks. We saw how Jai Herbert was able to capitalize on that. Even the moments where Josh Emmett had success in his fight against Topuria were moments where he was mixing up his leg kicks with his striking, which he didn't do enough of because he was getting badly hurt by Topuria. But if you guys go back and rewatch that fight, you could even hear Dominic Cruz saying, man, Josh Emmett would have a lot more success against Topuria if he can mix his leg kicks with his hands, but he really wasn't able to do that. But I do think Volkanovski does have a chance here if he imposes his leg kicks against Ilia Topuria. Now, Topuria is great defensively. Obviously, shoulder rolls, high guard, great composure when he gets hit, because Ilia Topuria does get hit, guys. I mean, I rewatched that Josh Emmett a couple times now, and you know, Josh Emmett was hitting him with some big strikes. He was hitting him with some big shots. And Topuria was, you know, sometimes he would react, move out of the way. But he has a good chin, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people like to bring up the fact that Ilia Topuria got dropped by Jai Herbert, like if it's something embarrassing, but those people never mention the fact that Ilia Topuria was stepping in on short notice to fight a guy in a weight class that he had not fought before. You know, he was fighting Jai Herbert at 155 pounds, and the fact that he was able to get hurt like that in the first round, and even after he got hurt, he got up, started grappling, was able to take Jai Herbert down and control him, and then be able to knock him out in the second round, which just kind of shows you the kind of durability that Ilia Topuria has, man. The fact that this guy can get badly hurt and still come back and knock out his opponent in the fashion he did, like, that was so nasty. One of the nastiest knockouts I've ever seen in the UFC. So Ilia Topuria, very durable. And even though he does lack experience, at a high level, because he's coming off a win over Josh Emmett. He's coming off a win over Bryce Mitchell. He's coming off a win over Jai Herbert and Ryan Hall. Those are not great wins for a title shot, you know what I'm saying? But even though, like I said, he has a lack of experience at a high level, he hasn't fought Ortega, he hasn't fought Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloway, and even though maybe some of you guys don't rate those guys very highly, you know, they're definitely elite of the 145 pounds. And, you know, maybe that's a benefit to Ilia Topuria. The fact that he hasn't fought these top guys at 145, maybe he's coming in fresher into this matchup. Maybe he's coming in with less damage. You know, Volkanovski, even though he's been dominating his opponents, he has taken a lot of damage over his career. He is coming off a knockout loss. So maybe that plays to the strength of Ilia Topuria, the fact that he really hasn't faced guys like Max Holloway, guys like Yair Rodriguez, you know what I'm saying? He hasn't faced those top guys, so maybe that helps him in this fight. Also, Ilia Topuria, he's great at imposing damage. I mean, his back step counter is nasty. He's good on the back foot, good on the front foot, and the fact that he's so good at imposing damage, that's amazing, because even if he's not able to knock out Volkanovski, if let's say Volkanovski, you know, is throwing more volume, but Topuria is landing the harder shots, that's going to help him with the judges. That's going to help him, you know, maybe win a decision, because, you know, if Topuria is getting hit by Volkanovski, but you know, it's not really hurting him, but Topuria, every time he lands on Volkanovski, you could see Volkanovski have a reaction. That's going to be a great look on the judges, and they're more likely to give the rounds to Ilia Topuria because of that. So he's incredibly dangerous, very strong. The fact that he's also has a grappling in his back pocket. This guy's an amazing grappler as well. Obviously, when people talk about Topuria, they love to talk about his hands because it's very entertaining, very slick. But this guy, make no mistake, he does have the grappling, and it's not going to be the same thing that happened with Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez, where Yair Rodriguez clearly has a big wrestling hold. But I mean, he's had that his whole career. And Volkanovski was quickly able to dismantle Yair Rodriguez with the grappling. I do not see that happening here. Topuria, one, I believe he's about the same height as Alexander Volkanovski, so I think that's going to benefit Topuria. He definitely is at a reach disadvantage. Obviously, Volkanovski has a long-ass reach. Probably the stronger fighter as well, but Ilia Topuria is also very strong going into this matchup. And obviously, his composure, his confidence, that's big going into this fight because no disrespect to Volkanovski's last opponents, but I feel like, they haven't been too confident. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they just don't like to talk about it. I don't know. But like Yair Rodriguez, very respectful. I feel like I don't know how confident he was going into that fight with Volkanovski, and the fact that Topuria is putting so much pressure on his shoulders, I think that means something. I really do believe, and I've said this since even before Volkanovski got knocked out by Islam Makhachev, that I did feel that Ilia Topuria was ready for Volkanovski. A lot of fans were saying, Topuria's not ready. He hasn't fought the top level competition. And maybe, after the fight, you guys can come back and say, yeah, you see, you were right. But like guys like Lucas Tracy were saying that Ilia Topuria was not ready for Volkanovski because he hasn't fought guys like Holloway. And I was like, man, you're wrong. You're wrong, because if you think about the fight stylistically, Topuria is incredibly dangerous and he's ready for Volkanovski. And the reality is that after Topuria beat Josh Emmett, I didn't hear any other contenders calling out Topuria. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is Volkanovski supposed to fight? And if they would have made Topuria versus Max Holloway and Max Holloway ends up winning that fight, do you guys really want to see Max Holloway versus Volkanovski 4? No, you don't. And I don't. I don't want to watch that. So the time was now. The time was now. I always felt like Topuria was ready for Volkanovski, and I still feel like he's ready. And even though he still has a lot to prove, I do believe he's elite level. I really do believe this guy's elite level, and I think he's ready for Volkanovski. And I don't think this is going to be an easy fight for Volkanovski. But now let's move on to Volkanovski's strengths and weaknesses. Alexander Volkanovski is clearly one of the best fighters to ever come into the UFC. I mean, this guy's fight IQ, he switched stances, very physical, is built like a tank at 145 pounds. He's looked absolutely dominant at 145 pounds. I know that right now people are mainly thinking about his fights with Islam Makhachev and the fact that, he made a couple of mistakes, rushed into that rematch, stepped in on short notice, and also the fact that he's been dealing with a lot of mental health issues going into that Islam Makhachev fight. Like, how is he going to come back into this fight? So there's many things to consider about Alexander Volkanovski going into this fight. But I mean, his greatest strength, I think, his fight IQ, his ability to switch stances, fight from any stance, his leg kicks, his physicality. He puts himself in the fire, which could be a bad thing and a good thing at times because he does get hit. Obviously, coming off a knockout loss, has the grappling in his back pocket. The fact that he was able to grapple and at least defend and not get submitted by a guy like Islam Makhachev is very impressive, and that's going to help him when he goes back down. Now, obviously, his reach, and most importantly, his biggest strength, in my opinion, is his adaptability. The fact that he's able to adapt to his opponents and fight differently each time he gets into the octagon, depending on his opponent. When he fought Yair Rodriguez, a grappling heavy style. When he fought Max Holloway, more of a volume striker kind of. He didn't really grapple. He tried to put the pressure on Max Holloway. He was more of a counter striker against Max Holloway. So we've seen Volkanovski fight very differently with certain types of opponents. So it means that this guy has amazing game plans. That Volkanovski and his team are going to be coming out with an amazing game plan against Ilia Topuria. And yeah, Volkanovski, he is 35 years old, guys. And now I'm going to get to the nitty gritty and talk about the fight itself. Let's actually talk about the fight itself. Yes, I'm picking Ilia Topuria to win, guys. I think Topuria is going to win. And, I'm going to get a lot of shit for it because I think a lot of people are rooting for Volkanovski, including myself. But I honestly do believe that Topuria is going to win this fight. Why do I think Topuria is going to win this fight? Well, obviously the fact that Volkanovski is coming off a knockout loss, I think he's coming back too quickly. I think he's still coming back too soon after a knockout loss. It was a bad knockout loss. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, this, I guess early stoppage, kind of like the what's it called? The Yuri Prohaska, the Pereira Yuri Prohaska KO, where it was kind of an early stoppage. Like, no, man, Volkanovski was out. He took a lot of damage in that Islam Makhachev rematch, and he was out, and he's even come out and said that, he's had a lot of headaches. He's, been more irritable. So clearly it's affecting him. There's ramifications to getting knocked out the way Volkanovski did at this age. And then he's coming off that loss against somebody who's highly confident. Like, how is his mentality going to be going into this fight? And look, I'm not going to go out here and say that Volkanovski's washed, because I believe that he's the better fighter. He's the more highly skilled fighter. And he definitely could come out here and school Ilia Topuria. But now, I have to respect the fight game. And I did not respect the fight game in the rematch because I picked Volkanovski to beat Islam Makhachev. And for this fight, I'm going to respect the game. I'm going to pick Ilia Topuria to knock out Alexander Volkanovski. I think he's incredibly dangerous. I think Volkanovski is going to be winning this fight until he's not, until he gets caught. I could see that kind of fight playing out here where Volkanovski is having a lot of success, very confident, showboating, leg kicking Ilia Topuria. And Ilia Topuria only needs one slick combination to put Volkanovski on his ass and potentially finish him. That's honestly what I'm seeing here, and is why, I thought about it, man. I was like, Volkanovski, definitely the more skilled fighter, has a more experience, better grappling, stronger, has more tools in his arsenal. But when I think of this matchup and when I think of the possibilities of this fight, I see a scenario where Volkanovski is winning the fight, maybe early, maybe the second round, and Ilia Topuria is able to land combinations that really hurt Volkanovski, because I do believe that Ilia Topuria has more power than some of these guys that Volkanovski has been fighting. I mean, Volkanovski fought Yair Rodriguez. Well, obviously, Yair Rodriguez's main thing is his leg kicks. His hands are okay. The Korean Zombie, Max Holloway, a volume striker, but doesn't have a lot of power in his hands. Like, Max Holloway isn't really knocking out guys at 145 pounds. There's not a lot of knockouts at 145 pounds. So it just kind of tells you the kind of power that Ilia Topuria has in his hands. And I just don't see a scenario where Volkanovski just dominates Ilia Topuria for 5 rounds. I don't really see it. I think that if Volkanovski ends up winning this fight, it's going to be a very competitive match. It's probably going to be a decision of 48-47, something like that. I think it's going to be very competitive. But ultimately, the reason why I'm going with Topuria is because I think Volkanovski is coming back too soon, and I have to respect the game. He's coming back too soon. He's 36 years old. Topuria has all the confidence in the world. His striking is amazing. He also has grappling. If Topuria didn't have grappling like Yair Rodriguez, I'd be like, you know what? Volkanovski is coming off a knockout loss, but he could still grapple. I don't know how the grappling exchanges are going to look between the two, because Topuria also has incredible grappling, so that's going to be quite tricky. The fact that Topuria also has a similar build, like these guys are both built like little tanks, I think that's going to benefit Topuria here. I think it's going to benefit Topuria. I think that Volkanovski is going to have a lot of success at range with the leg kicks, the low leg kicks. I'm curious to see if Topuria addresses his heavy boxing stance against someone like Volkanovski. If he, maybe attempts some leg kicks. The one thing that I could see Volkanovski exposing is maybe Volkanovski should throw some head kicks of his own, because Topuria has been hit by head kicks. Even prior to the UFC, he got dropped by a head kick. So both these guys are very susceptible to head kicks. And I think that if Volkanovski maybe implements a very leg kicking heavy game, maybe he could have a lot of success against Topuria. But if he decides to, scrap, punch for punch, Topuria is the better puncher, and he's going to knock out Volkanovski. So, guys, I have to go with Ilia Topuria. I'm going with Ilia Topuria to win this fight by a knockout, either in the second or third round. I think it's going to be early. I think he's going to catch Volkanovski coming in, and we've seen Volkanovski get hit by a lot of fighters. I get it. Volkanovski has a great chin, but he just got knocked out at 155 pounds, and now he has to cut down to 145 pounds. We don't know how he's going to take that. Time, the history says that you don't come back the same after a knockout loss like that at his age. That's what history says. Look at the stats. And I think even though I'm a big Volkanovski fan, I'm rooting for him. I want him to win this fight. I think Topuria is going to win. I think Topuria is going to win, guys. Ultimately, like I said, I'm going with Ilia Topuria. I know a lot of you guys are big Volk fans. A lot of you guys are picking Volkanovski. And if Volkanovski ends up winning, feel free to come back to the comment section and shit on me and tell me how I'm stupid and I'm wrong. But I really do feel like Ilia Topuria is going to get this one done. I could see him even winning a decision if he lands the more significant strikes on the feet. I could see him stealing some of the rounds. Even if Volkanovski is maybe throwing more volume, I see Topuria landing the more significant strikes. And I think his style just matches perfectly against someone like Volkanovski. And like I said, I've been saying for months, even prior to the Islam Makhachev rematch, that Topuria, I just feel like he has a style, man. I just feel like he's going to be the kryptonite to Alexander Volkanovski. And the fact that Volkanovski is coming back to fight under these circumstances just makes me more confident in picking Ilia Topuria to win this matchup, guys. So anyway, please let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure to keep it respectful. Let me know you think Volkanovski is going to win. Let me know how you think he's going to win. If you also believe that Topuria is going to end up winning this matchup, let me know how you think Topuria wins this fight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown and predictions. Like I said, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.